This is going to be a short but sweet comparison of Finecast versus metal miniatures. As a one-to-one comparison, we have the Empire Captain with hammer and pistol. Packaging is pretty standard stuff. I've pre-opened these so you guys don't have to watch me fumble as much. Of course, the square base, nothing's going to change there. Give this a second to focus. See how close we can get. Looks pretty good, you know. I got no complaints about the quality of this metal miniature. Of course, right out of the box, you know, it hasn't been assembled or trimmed. For a one-to-one comparison, we have the exact same miniature in Finecast. New packaging, easy to spot stuff on the shelf, I guess, but you can still get a look at the miniatures, which is good. I was afraid that they would, you know, put them in a completely enclosed box, because, you know, if I'm going to pay $15.25 for a single miniature, I'd kind of like to see that, you know, all the pieces are there and there's no obvious problems. So, good on them for that. Once again, square slaughter base. Give this a second to focus. Honestly, I can't see a huge extra amount of detail. People are going nuts and telling me how much more detail there are on these, but looking at them side by side, just not seeing it. I will say that there's, you know, the obvious little pieces of flash that'll have to be removed, but other than that, the mold looks good. It doesn't look like there's any obvious problems. And thankfully, you know, there's no air bubbles that I can find, period. So on a one-to-one comparison, I would say the price is the only disappointment, to be honest. Other than that, they look pretty identical, and they'll both look good in an Empire army when I get around to building that, probably about 2013. The next is not an exact one-to-one comparison, but it is a similar comparison. They don't make an electric count Marius Leitdorf and Finecast yet, which is fine, because honestly I don't want more than one of them. We've probably all seen this packaging, you know, it's pretty standard stuff. As far as the actual cast goes, you know, pretty standard fare for miniatures. It's a two-piece horse. And the pieces are hollowed out a bit to save metal. I have a feeling I still paid for the whole horse, even though I didn't, you know, get all of it. Its insides were missing. So, as far as quality goes, and I apologize if this is not focusing well. It looks good, but that's you know, it should look good. There's no reason why it shouldn't. And then for a Finecast comparison, we have Kurt Hellborg, who I did not already have, but have wanted to pick up for a while. And if I'm ever going to do it, it'll obviously be in Finecast now. So, let's see how Kurt's horse looks. Good detail. No complaints. The other half of the horse, I don't have a Kurt, so I don't know if his horse has always been solid or if the metal one also was hollowed out. But it looks good, and you get the whole horse. See, it's not hollowed out. Not that that's a big deal. Not a lot of ability to test fit. I'll show these once I've assembled them in a later blog, but it's definitely lighter, and that's about all I can say for it. Price-wise, yeah, like $38 for one dude on a horse. These seem to be sold with the idea that they are collectible miniatures that should be painted and displayed, which is why it confuses me that they want us to play a game where we need thousands of them. So that's, you know, kind of pricing me out of it. But see if we can get these guys side by side. And obviously there's some differences because it's metal versus a different color, but I really don't see, you know, the huge improvement that people are talking about. And I'm not calling anybody a liar. I'm just saying, you know, it looked great before, and it still looks great. So, no change in my opinion. But anyway, I will probably put these guys down and put some primer on them and see how it takes, and we'll talk about that another time. Thanks.